So dudes, Abe Froman here again for part 2 of the land nav. This is the plotting and basic land nav functions. Right now we're going to look at going over the title, the edition, series, sheet, and you're going to see my cerebral palsy as I try to hold this camera still, but don't worry, it's not going to last long. So here's a freeze version. Things you need to know: the map name's Tenino, state's Washington. The scale is 1/50,000. Down there, the adjoining sheets and the magnetic declination. So this is the first practice question, and what you need to focus on is the fact that you're conducting a waterborne operation on Beaver Creek, and you need to confirm your location. So this is going to be resection. You have a known point, which is the water tower located at that grid, and that's the first thing you need to do. And how to find a grid, an 8-digit grid, is you're going to look at the first 2 digits of each section, like I just underlined there, and once you find where that grid square is, then you can use your protractor and find the second 2 digits. So what you see right here is my calculations. From the question, you know that at 157 degrees from your position is the 8-digit grid. So using resection, you need to convert the grid from magnetic to grid, which magnetic to grid, M to G, major general, you're adding. And then once you have that, you need to shoot a back azimuth. So if it's less than 180 degrees, you add. If it's more than 180 degrees, you subtract. So we end up with a back azimuth of 358 degrees. So from there, you know you're doing waterborne operations, so you're on the actual river, or the creek, Beaver Creek. So once you shoot your back azimuth, you mark down the paper, and then you draw your azimuth line, and then once you find your point off Beaver Creek, you use your protractor and get the 8-digit grid for that location. For this specific grid, it is, as shown here, Echo Golf 10, 20, 92, 75. So that's how you get that for a back azimuth. All right, next one. This is going to be intersection. All right, now you're looking at 2 specific grids to, triangulate your location, if you will. And you will see some similarities in the math you have to do. So you know the water tower in that vicinity, that grid square. First thing you're going to do is look for that water tower. So here you find where the water tower is on the 0985 grid square, and then you know in this town, Violet Prairie, you're looking for a church. Now if you go back down the legend, you're going to be able to find exactly what a church looks like, and then from there in the town, you know where the church is because it's labeled appropriately. So you make 2 marks, one where the water tower is, one where the church is, and then from there, now you're going to do your intersection math, which is very similar to resection. So you know your magnetic azimuth is 156 to the water tower and 247 to the church. So again, you got to add your GM angle, and then once you do that, you will get 177 for the water tower and 168 for the church. Getting your back azimuths, you got to make sure you do this correctly each time. Less than 180, add. More than 180, subtract. And we end up with 357 degrees for the church, back azimuth, and 88 degrees. 357 for the water tower, back azimuth, and 88 degrees for the church. Once you get those, use your protractor, because now you have the grid azimuth, and mark them, and then wherever those intersections are, that's what you're looking for. You can't skip these steps. So if you don't take your time and do the proper math like I show you here, you're going to get a different grid. And you'll see in some of these questions, there's some trick questions. So there's the answer. So if you skip around and don't add the GM angle or subtract it, the answer for that will be in the selections. They're gonna try to trick you up. All right, moving along. All right, next we're looking for a terrain feature. All right, hey, look, give me a fucking break, all right? I'm doing the best I can here, and you know, I got a camera and a tripod, and I'm trying to get everything on the map. You know, don't give me a hard time. I don't know what to tell you. It's a little bit off, but you can get the gist of it by seeing what's on the edge there. Now, this one specifically, it says terrain feature, not major, not minor, just terrain feature. And for that one, it is a saddle because you can see two obvious hills, and then the lowland between those two hills is the saddle. All right, next one. You are going to use Resection to find your location from Interstate 5. So here I show you where Interstate 5 is on the Tenino map, and you run out of gas like a nerd, and you need your location, and you have a school at this grid square. So from that school, you are going to use your compass, shoot a magnetic azimuth. Same thing applies here. You're going to notice this trend. First thing you do before you do anything else, add or subtract the GM angle. Again, we're going for magnetic to grid, so you're going to add, which you end up with 117 plus 21 is 138. Then you need a back azimuth, which add 180, and you get 318. So from the school, you're going to put a grid azimuth of 318 to the actual interstate. Once you mark that on the interstate, use your protractor and very carefully plot the point, and you should end with the right answer, which is listed there. All right, this one's there. So one thing to think of on this map, you have a split for grid zone identifiers. You have Echo Hotel above the 00 line and Echo Golf below it. So don't forget that when you're on the northern part of the map. All right, next one, real simple, the adjoining sheets. So it says right here, it is the sheet to the east, and then you look to the east and you find the correct one, not northeast, not southeast, but east of you, and that's how you get the correct answer. All right, next one. Major terrain feature. Okay, this one's a trick question, all right? You got to read the answers. So on these ones, if you have a highlighter, you can highlight where it says major terrain feature. In the answers, it's going to give you more specifically what you're looking at. You can see from where the water is being drawn in from that terrain feature that it's a draw. But draw, being a minor terrain feature, is the wrong answer. You see in between that hill and the next hill is a saddle. Saddle on this one is the only viable answer because it's obviously not a valley. It's on a ridge line, but in a saddle of that ridge line. So that's the right answer. All right, supplementary condor interval. Key words here. You have to read the questions in its entirety. Not contour interval, which is 20 meters, but supplementary contour in meters, 10. All right, supplementary. You got to read. Read to get the right answer. That'll trip you up. All right, distances. You have road or curve distances, angle distances, and then you have straight line. We're going to go over how to do a road distance right now. So first thing you do is plot the points appropriately. On that road, you got your first two grids. Find your grid square, and then use your protractor to find your 8-digit grid. And then you find the next intersection. You got 0387. Plot that point. And then from there, you mark it, and now you're going to need either a sheet of paper or a string. I never mess with a string. It's up to you. What do you want to do? The string for me cannot, sometimes will be a little less accurate. If you use a sheet of paper, you can see what I'm doing on the straight edge of that paper. You mark on that road, which is a straight line conveniently for this one, from the first point to the first intersection, mark it, and then on that second point on your straight edge, turn it, and then from that intersection to the next point, you mark it again, and you'll have a straight line distance for a non-straight line. Take it down to the scale, and you'll see how you use your 1,000 meters to 100 meters. First thing you're going to do is put the beginning edge at the 0, mark it at the nearest 1,000 meter, which we have 4,000, and then there's a little bit of excess. Now you have that distance between the two excess. Take that to the other side. Now you're going to measure it backwards and get the meters in hundreds. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. 400 meters. Add those together for a total of 4,400 meters. Pretty easy stuff, but again, if you're not doing it, taking your time, it's easy to throw off. Straight line distance. This one again, hey, give me a break, all right? I'm doing the best I can with this. I didn't get it completely on the camera, but you have spot elevations, 147 and then 145. They give you the 8-digit grid for those. You find them, you mark them, just like before with the intersection. Now you're just doing straight, so it's straight line, so it's like skipping one step. Mark the distance in thousands. Get your 5,000 meters for the thousands, and then take the excess back down to your hundreds, and then you can count what it is from there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 400 meters. Add those together, and you get, you guessed it, 5,400 meters. There's your answer. All right, scale. It's on 3 different places on a map. Top left corner, bottom corner, and sometimes in the legend. 1/50,000. Don't mess this up. Elevation of a point. So use your protractor, find the point first, and then from there you're going to be looking at specifically what the question is asking. All right, it's saying what's the elevation of that point, and around there you can see where it's 40 at that depression. It's got the contour line there. It says 40. That's your answer. All right. We are using resection again. We are finding our. We are looking for activity of trains. Okay. You hear trains to the north. So this one's also easy to screw up. From your point at spot elevation, your location, you need to get the grid azimuth from a magnetic azimuth. Your GM angle being grid to magnetic. So you're adding. If you just do 0 degrees, your points are going to be off. However, on the answer key, that might be available, which is the wrong answer. You're skipping a step though, so you're wrong. You make sure you add 21. You're conveniently looking at 0 degrees plus 21, and then once on the train tracks, you get your 8-digit grid. All right, what terrain features in a small swamp? From here, you have to do first step, finding your grid square, and then using your protractor, you can find a more exact point for an 8-digit, but if you got a 4-digit, you can just look at it. So here you see swamps in the area to the left and the area to your right, and then inside that terrain feature, which is depression, it shows a little swamp, and there's your answer. All right, that's it. Video is kind of short, but hopefully it caught you up in some of the stuff that comes over on the land nav test. All right, study hard, train hard, and do gangster shit.